Hello, hello, what is up? What is good? We got another new chapter of One Piece. This is 1144, A Time for Warriors. It is first off on the cover page making me appreciate how gigantic Yamato is. I always forget that he is actually pretty huge. I always think of him as like kind of just the same size as Luffy or Zoro, this that kind of like standard One Piece character size. But unless those are some tiny, tiny people he's rescuing, yeah, this is a tall boy. But yeah, having dismantled this holdout of Kaido loyalists and this kind of new Onigashima they've set up, where they had kidnapped the carpenter dude that Frankie was apprenticing under. It seems they also had some sort of legendary sword there that Yamato has retrieved. I'm probably meant to recognize that, but I'm sorry, I do not. I do not. But good work, Yamato. That journey will continue. I still hope that it ends with Yamato heading out to sea so that we could encounter him in some circumstance, some context. Another card put back in the hand, to be redeployed at some later event, making it plausible for Yamato to reappear wherever. Anyways, this chapter is titled A Time for Warriors. Uh, I feel like we are indeed going to get the flashback to the era of King Harold and learn the truth behind why Loki did what he did. We'll see if it does come to pass that this is all related to Mother Caramel and Big Mom's backstory. I think that's a fantastic opportunity to touch on that and to touch on this extremely shady, horrible business happening on Elbaf during the rule of this so-called benevolent king. I think a lot of things are going to come to light in this chapter. I still feel like there's some kind of X factor, some sort of twist too that we're not foreseeing. Some additional source of gravity or impact that happened during that era. Because when it comes down to it, it's kind of like, yeah, allying with the world government, that's pretty abhorrent. But does Loki really understand the full impact of that? Like maybe he found out about the child trafficking thing, that old thing. But I feel like I've talked about this before. I still feel like there's some other X factor with Elbaf that the quote from explorer Louis Arnault kind of hints at, and the existence of the third layer of Elbaf, which showed up on the diagram but hasn't really been discussed since then, factors into that. And just everything with like that ridiculously huge sword that's like impaling Elbaf. Everything around this like very ancient history of the country. I think there is something we still don't know that's going to come into play, and that this flashback on top of serving as the character explainer for Loki and having these other twists and stuff in it is also going to start hinting at that. So I'm quite excited. This has just kind of been the way that Oda has been doing flashbacks lately. Like during Wano, it's like, oh, it's the Odin flashback. Let's learn about his life. And then suddenly it's also like, oh, we're on Laugh Tale. They're talking about One Piece. We get to learn a lot about Roger too. We get to see all of these other extremely important, crazy scenes. Just kind of thrown in there as a bonus. So I feel like this flashback will likely have something like that as well. Okay, but wow, okay, crazy. I mean, already we are touching on this very thing, the ancient history of Elbaf. Frankie being taken to what looks like a remnant of the ancient kingdom, pre Void Century, because it has kind of the same aesthetics as the giant robot from Egghead. I think these two things are connected. It all has like a very like uh, castle in the sky vibe to me. There's something kind of Miyazaki-ish about not just, of course, ancient technology that's had plants and grass and moss and stuff grow over it, and yet that technology that's so ancient still feels advanced compared to this sort of regressed modern standard, which of course Castle in the Sky is full of. But then also just kind of like the roundedness, these kind of asymmetrical windows that almost look like eyes. Um, just this feeling of like thick old metal being welded together and yet brought to life through some mysterious means. I don't know. And then also these like weird bulbous plants kind of give me Nausicaa vibes. But I guess I'm just on like a whole Miyazaki trip now. But wow, what a crazy evocative shot just to start this whole chapter with. I like that Frankie is the one on this tour as well. Because he's a very, very smart dude. And he's definitely, if you kind of look at the whole spectrum of Straw Hats in terms of how interested they are in the actual lore of the series, in actually learning the history of the world, obviously Robin is on one extreme end, and she's busy kind of doing that in her own way. And then I think Frankie is probably one of the closest next to her because, you know, he has this whole history with the ancient weapon that he was guarding the blueprints for, and he's really been impacted, I think, by the world government in such a unique, concrete way where, like, the exposure of ancient secrets is what led to that conflict. I can't think of anybody else in the crew that would be as interested in stuff like this. Besides Robin, of course. Maybe Chopper, just because he's a curious fellow. But he's also very childlike and naive. And then, like, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Brook. Hard to picture it. Maybe Jinbei. Yeah, Jinbei, I think, kind of like Frankie, has a lot of vested interest in stuff like this. Obviously, because of the Fishman history. Anyways, all of this is to say that I think this is a really great character moment to have Frankie out exploring these things and being confronted with them and stuff. Ah! So this is where Lilith went. We got lost. Strange. Hearing alarms in the distance, probably danger in the woods. This building stood here for at least 3 millennia. Wow, wow. Even in Elbaf, we have no record of what this building is. So it's like, whatever they were doing here, because I think, you know, the flooding of the world and stuff is kind of what marked the beginning of the Void Century, or maybe the end of the Void Century, or whatever. That's obviously the most major effect, is that the ancient kingdoms that lived on the floor of the continent were completely obliterated, and only civilizations up, or the civilizations that moved up onto the mountains that became islands, got to survive. But then, yeah, I think also there was a major sea change in the existing kingdoms on places like Elbaf that were already above the future flood markers, or the parts of Elbaf. Probably Elbaf extends all the way down and used to have stuff going on all the way down. Or I guess, yeah, it's like the tree would have... What am I talking about? Whatever. Yeah, I think there is also like a widespread destruction of all of those ancient kingdoms too. That just makes it all the more worth studying. Settle down and live here. Ooh. Okay, so I really like this What I'm Afraid of, lightning. Because it seems like, I think what we're gonna have is like maybe the Herald flashback won't happen right now, but we're gonna have kind of this middle conflict with all of these nightmarish apparitions and the stuff with the kids. And then the actual showdown with the Holy Knights is going to be more the actual climax of the arc. I don't know. We'll see. But I really, really do like this signification, this little narration bubble of What I'm Afraid of, lightning. I hope we see that repeated a few more times and these nightmare creatures get a continued spotlight. Good Bonnie face, too. She is a little kid after all. She's going to be afraid of the stuff that makes other little kids afraid. I also like Frankie being like, oh man, Elbaf is crazy. And then it's like, no, this has nothing to do with Elbaf. Draugr. That was like a legend of myth or something. A warrior of myth, I think. Sober up and grab your weapons. Ah, yeah. Had to drink too much and had to rush to the bathroom. Is it an enormous me? I feel like this is maybe a situation where Brooke could be Imba. Because it's like they're manipulating the nightmares of these children. But Brooke is also like the captain of the heart. Like, is capable of swaying the emotions of people. Even sleepwalking children, I think, could be pacified by his music or inspired to think of brave, heroic, wonderful things that completely warp these nightmarish manifestations. Because it's not like his power only creates bad things. Before he was making nice salt and food and stuff. So I think that would be a cool plot development. We'll see if it goes in that direction. That Brooke plays a role in this. We want to fight too. Okay. Oh, Colin is up here. Colin wasn't with the school kids, that's right. Because he's not a freaking wimp that loves books. he's warrior culture. The son of Gaban. You're not Gaban. Where is Gaban? Where is that guru of love? he said, oh, I just like observing. I just like when things are crazy. I just like hanging out. But he should probably step in. Something we need to tell you about. I'm sorry I didn't bring it up earlier. Yeah, because she had, like, I kind of forgot, like, this is so well written, okay? Because normally, the way this plot would develop is, they'd find out about the Holy Knights intruding, the intruder that looks like Shanks, the beat-up guards, and they would immediately go tell the chief and tell everybody and be like, yeah, we need to mobilize against this. But it's because there was the additional element of they were in the castle for unscrupulous purposes, for naughty, potentially damaging, very bad idea reasons of trying to free Loki. And so, you know, they couldn't just volunteer the information. Oh yeah, we went into the castle where we're not supposed to go. Why? We got lost. So it's really good because, like, I think often we get these situations where it's like, well, why didn't you tell us? Oh, I just forgot. It was the heat of the moment, whatever. And that kind of feels flimsy. Like, that just kind of feels and even One Piece has had this before. I think the most famous example is during Thriller Bark where Nami sees Kuma show up and then not until the end of the arc is it mentioned again. And then she's like, oh my god, I forgot to tell you guys. There's another Warlord of the Sea here. But that, I think, the shock value is so strong. And I think because, you know, the entire Oars fight and the entire Moria fight has happened in between Nami seeing Kuma and him showing up again, it's like the reader themselves has forgotten. And you kind of are synced with Nami, and it's, like, really jarring. But in general, that sort of writing, it kind of bugs me. Because it's like, it only takes like 5 seconds to tell somebody something. Are you really going to forget? Are you really going to, like, keep it on the back of your mind when it could be, like, super hyper relevant? But here, it's, like, really good. Like, I think they've orchestrated all these plot points perfectly. That the Straw Hats are caught unawares. The whole giant village is caught unawares. Because they were doing something sneaky. And because they were kind of going behind their backs, obviously they're not going to then be like, hey, we went behind your backs. Quickest answer to most mysteries in this world is a devil fruit of some kind. Or maybe Sir Killingham just looks like that. Have you ever thought about that? He's just a weird guy. Nah, he's got a devil fruit. Good chance those folks are behind it all. Good thinking, Jimbei. Good job as high-level strategist that remembers how this series works. Putting it together awfully quick in a way that I think is totally reasonable. And I'm really glad the characters aren't lagging behind the readers in terms of this mystery. There's 2 of them causing all these strange phenomena. Perhaps we should expect more. Right, right. Brooke also with a pretty good suggestion, like despite being completely wasted and a skeleton. Abducting children in broad daylight, they're despicable. They have to stop them. Yes, yes. Just like Punk Hazard. Nami feeling for the kids. And they get a demand from Elbaf once they've got the kids held hostage. Never heard of an introduction like this. Okay. The giants are full-scale mobilized now. The targets are human-sized. We'll have an easier time looking for them. But the big guys fight the big guys, we'll search for the intruders. Nice, okay. Elbaf is too huge for us to cover. Ah. Oh, this is so fun. So I'm the captain. Alright, so good division of our straw hats here. Multi-front adventure happening. Everyone mobilized. Multiple plot points happening, but all kind of focalized around a couple different things. We're cooking, man. We're cooking. I really like Colin as a character, too. He really is so cute. The Colin Pirates. Okay. So... TDs. Huh. This is odd. So I thought, yeah, she's just chilling and listening to music. But it looks like they're also infiltrating. Yeah, they also know. The adults are trying their hardest to save the kids. They're trying to intercept the operations of the Elbaf people. Their inner Elbaf Denden Mushi also tappable, it seems. Maybe using Killingham's powers to just generate anything. But, okay, now hold on a second. This will require some research, because I watched it a few years ago, and I can't remember. I watched One Piece film Red, which is about the mysterious girl Uta, who has the singing devil fruit power that can lull people into hypnotized fantasy worlds when she sings. And she's kind of like an idol, and they go to like her concert and blah blah blah. It's very silly, it's very fun. Good movie. Weird relationship to canon, as a few of these One Piece movies are. And now I'm like, is she listening to Uta? Is that her name, by the way? I think so. I mean, it means song. That's the kind of on-the-nose naming that the series loves. So is this... Does she have a song called New World? I don't know. It feels very plausible. She had a lot of songs titled stuff like that. Anyways, yeah. I like the dynamic of these two guys. Somers especially is very, very entertaining. Killingham seems to have kind of calmed down. But not devil fruited, notably. Hasn't gone to full human form. Maybe he looks like that and he ate the Kirin devil fruit. I don't know, man. Alright. Ooh. Okay, meanwhile, cutting back to Saul trying to stop the kids. Ooh, but they'd start stabbing each other. I see the hedgehog's dilemma. Evangelion. But yeah, this is really tragic. Poor Saul. I'm gonna try everything I can. I like that they're like really grappling directly with the situation. This again is something that I think in a lot of series, and including One Piece a few times before, it's like the characters are too quick to give up when it comes to, oh, this mysterious power is doing X, Y, Z, and we want to stop it. And they're just kind of like, and it cannot be prevented. That's the power. It makes you do this, and it cannot be prevented. And they're like, ah, shit, well, I guess it can't be prevented. And it's like, well, are you sure there's not any loopholes? Are you sure there's not any, like, tricks you can do? Things that the power didn't really account for? Edge cases? Liberal interpretations? Like, to me, the desperation should at first come there, realistically. And I know why it doesn't, because I think in a lot of situations that would just become very, very tedious. Where it's like, oh, you've mind controlled me, huh? Well, what if I use a random number generator to determine my actions? Can you supersede randomness with your control or something? And it's like, is that really a good plot point? Is that actually exciting? No. But something like this, I think, where it's like the feeling of desperation, the feeling of terrifyingness, of despair, is coming from grappling with the specific situation of this power, of coming to terms with just how unshakable these directions of walk forward into the fire are. Ooh, and there's Fenrir, the giant shadow wolf. He's controlling this thing, and from where? Other villages are reporting back about similar monsters. This is happening all over Elbaf. Devil fruit powers at work. We must identify the culprits. Yup. Okay, so they take one down. They're not invincible. I think they're just as strong as, like, the kids imagine them to be, right? Which makes sense. Needhugger. And how do you fight a ghost? What the hell does the ghost do? Oh shit! Hotsuku sovereignty! They're gonna do it! I have, like, I don't know. I think this move is the perfect example of Oda having such consideration around things like power scaling. And I don't think One Piece is primarily kind of like a power scale-y type shonen. I think people that obsess over such things are doing themselves a disservice and kind of stifling their ability to enjoy the manga on a lot of other additional ways. But I think One Piece does a great job in still rewarding those people in some ways. Like, if you start going down the power scaling rabbit hole, you realize that One Piece has made a lot of stuff very deliberately ambiguous. Like, how strong was Enel, really? Like, could Enel just, like, nuke Marineford with a gigantic peal of lightning and win? And it was just an amazing miracle of fate that Luffy has, like, the 10-0 matchup with him because he doesn't get blasted by lightning. These questions are, like, very apparent all over the series, and Oda really makes sure not to answer them, in order to, like, give himself more freedom. And then, like, when he kind of pays off one of those things, like, for example, when Shanks absolutely, like, wipes the floor with the kid pirates, and you're just like, oh, okay, he's really that guy, he's really him. It's like paying off the ambiguity and the lack of answers with power scaling in a way that I think really rewards the power scalers. And in my mind, the definitive example of this has always been way back in Little Garden. We meet the giant captains, and they're huge, and they're so strong, and they're so crazy that Luffy, like, flops on his back and says it's too huge, it's too crazy. And then, you know, they kind of get embarrassed by Mr. 3, but that's a bad matchup too. That's like a 0-10 matchup because the Giants are kind of stupid, and Mr. 3 takes advantage of them and blasts them with wax and stuff. And then at the end, we get this, like, absurd, crazy, powerful feat where a gigantic goldfish that can eat an island pops out of the water. Which, again, it's like there's power scaling, and then there's, like, literal physical scaling. Very few things in the world of One Piece in terms of giant creatures are that big. Like Waratsuki, I guess, and San Juan Battleship, and the Kraken is also pretty big, I guess. and that thing in Thriller Bark is gigantic. But that goldfish is way up there too, because Little Garden was like a big island, and that thing was like bigger than Little Garden. And then with their signature move that I think they're gonna unleash again, the giant captain's like completely annihilated. They carve a big hole in it with like precision and efficiency and almost a sense of this is just how we fight, right? And I think it's just so cool that now we're over 1100, over 1,000 chapters later. Not quite 11,000 chapters later. That's probably around chapter 70 or something. And it's like that attack still has impact. That attack still could just one-shot shit. That attack, we still don't know if it's been matched by like anything else. All right, let's see it. Yeah! Hell yeah! Bro, it's so sick. The captains, the giant pirate crew. The puke up all we drank, such a shame. We'll exterminate all these monsters. You folks help the children. They're so cool. It's the Great Eric. It's the only like truly giant scale pirate ship. And Mr. Ya is here too. Nice. I was wondering when he was gonna get involved. No way that he's such a third-party observer of chaos type that he's not gonna step in for something like this. Oh, hell yeah. I also like that all the other giants are like, sober up, it's game time. And then we see Mr. Ya and he's just like swigging sake. Alright, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Okay, I like this a lot. I was totally wrong. I thought now it's time for Loki, Hadrudin, King Harold flashback. We didn't even touch on that plotline at all. Those guys are still just chilling down there. Loki's getting treated. The brothers are having their fierce standoff. Maybe the flashback's already playing in their minds, but we don't get to see it yet. Instead, we just got just a variety of crazy shit this chapter. I gotta figure out, is this actually a reference to One Piece film Red? Is that character actually canon in the manga? And our holy knight here is listening to her. If so, I feel like this is kind of a clue that maybe she's going to end up being sympathetic in some way. A turncoat, perhaps even. Involved in the revolutionaries, perhaps. She does kind of have, like, the revolutionary aesthetics of the big kind of steampunky goggles. I don't know, man. Great chapter. A lot of stuff going on. But I like that, you know, these monsters, the nightmare monsters. First off, they're just awesome. What a great idea. I love how they're drawn. I love the variety of them. But then also it's like, this is just a chance to see the giant pirates annihilate stuff. We just get to see very cathartic, very satisfying giants rampaging before the more substantial back and forth tense battles with the Holy Knights themselves. This is good fodder. This is good, like I say, catharsis. Hakoku sovereignty. Hell yeah. It one-shotted the ghost and the dragon and this other big spooky Viking guy. Alright. Let's look forward to next week. See you then.